All right, I have a recording going for this that I can post later for anybody who misses out on this, um, or we can reference later. So, the purpose of this meeting is to discuss a booth build for Ohio that we can hopefully have something presentable for CGC this year in September. And I've realized I'm not sharing my screen. I apologize. And okay. So we have a build thread already on the forums. If any of you haven't looked at it, I'm sure everyone here has though. You can take a peek there. The chat has the link. The goal for this booth is to have a booth setup similar to what we had seen at C2, inspired by the games, that can also be connected to other booth setups in the future should we get a big area available, or thinking something like Torg last year. We got the chance to have a huge amount of space that we only got to utilize a certain portion, counting the extra life stuff, but we could have had, some booth merging there if we had the assets, uh, like some places do now out in the Midwest. So, we had discussed having the live fire portion, and it seems like that's the goal that we're going to stick with. And then there will be some tables and stuff that we'll have to figure out. So I was looking at, can you guys see this? Yeah.
Yep.
So I was
Yes.
looking at the 405th booth setup made by Unique from the Halo Waypoint browser. So I was just looking at some of these booths for references. And I apologize, I don't get on Forge often enough to navigate it well, but just for reference, so C2 had the booth with the 2 or 3 wall segments with a room, and I really love that room idea. That was a nice place to store things. That was a nice place for some who were getting a little overwhelmed to go take a seat. It was a good addition. I'd like to implement that if we can, especially for CGC space.
For sure.
But the beauty of this whole sectioned off concept is that, we can have a certain portion where we could just have the room removed entirely and still have the rest of the setup, Hey, Cacti.
I just realized what time it was.
All good. So
Nice
we
for
just
you.
got started. Didn't really miss much. I just gave a recap of what our goal is. Have a booth that can be modular with other booth setups, and that we were looking to go with a live fire setup at the moment.
Okay.
Or live fire theme.
I want to say for one thing, as you dive into this, think in particular about what you can finish before Cleveland
Of course.
gaming in September. And then, similar to what Longsword did, they built the flat walls first. And then, now with C2 and Planet being the same weekend, has essentially a 2-year buffer to build a room themselves. And Harvest did the opposite because Longsword provided those flat walls.
Okay.
So that is an. I don't expect any of those to come from other battalions to Ohio, but keep in mind you could do the flat walls for Cleveland Gaming and then introduce a room down the road.
Of course.
That's kind of what I had in mind, or was going to suggest.
Yeah, there's been a lot of talk about props in the forum post, but those should probably come last. The walls are their top priority.
Right. Agreed.
Especially so I don't have to worry about pipe and drape and everything.
Agreed.
What I would encourage you to do is pick your one central focus point. So for the longsword booth, it was that UNSC panel wall. Why? Because it was easy to do quickly. You do have more time than the Kansas Missouri crew did. So you can pick something a little bit more intricate there. But pick your focal point and then a couple of side walls. And what I've been visualizing possible before Cleveland is about 24 feet of wall. And I would highly recommend adding 2-foot panels on those sides, the very edges of them, just for stability and so you can use less framing. And remember weight, because you're going to need stands if you do a flat wall.
Okay.
And then we can always use a backdrop for the remaining portion of it.
Yeah, I see the wall stands you're talking about in your Midwest live fire post.
So you've got that.
What were your
So the one that
walls
you're
on
looking
these?
over right now, that is a 4-foot by 8-foot wall.
Okay.
We did 2 that were 2-foot by 8-foot, and they came out towards the front of the booth at a 90-degree angle. They're not in the mock-ups
Got it.
because we just kind of thought about as we were
Like
building.
this.
Yeah, so it'd be like that.
Okay.
And that one there is a 4-foot panel, but we made them 2-foot. At C2, I believe I'd have to look at our actual photos from it. I think we did actually take 2 of our spare 4-foot panels and put them back to back. So we actually did have 4 feet coming out that side on that edge with the ghost.
Right.
Because that room is a 10 by 10.
And I don't think I had seen other booth. Is there?
Yeah, I
a
think most
specific
of us took
person
it from
who
the
had-
other angle.
Is there anybody else who had booth photos? Do you know?
Varying people did. I just don't know if anybody just went from that side and took a photo going down.
Gotcha.
Most of them went to the front and
Right.
took
I
base
want to look
front
for
photos.
related to the setup of
Which
it.
angle are we talking about?
Coming down the side, so if you were walking down the aisle, when you first see the booth, if you were walking down the aisle from the front entrance, walking into the convention floor,
From the alien.
most
side.
of us went to where you would be seeing us, front on. But yeah, if you were coming down across where like that
Are
small
we
panel
talking
is,
about that small wall between the green walls?
well, there's a corner right there, so that one that you can
Yeah.
see the back of.
Mhm.
If I remember, we did actually do 2 back-to-back panels and set those up that way
Oh.
because we had them.
Mhm.
But that was more of like an on-site, we have these, let's use them kind of thing.
Right. Which would explain why that's not a bare wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But at Planet, what we did is we had 2-foot panels on either side that came forward. And those are not displayed because we made those kind of last minute. But you
Right, there
can
they are. Yep.
you can see, yeah, it's just 2-foot. And then we use the stands all the way on the back. And that was 28 feet of back wall.
Okay. Is that the same portion we had for C2, or was it cut off about right here? I think it was cut off.
We
wasn't
cut off a section and then met up with the room,
it? Okay.
which is why we had the extra panel to be able to use on the other side. Because we had a 20 by 30, was it? So we had some wiggle room there.
Okay.
Are you
Do you have
looking
to
for pictures of it on the inside or the outside?
Outside.
Outside. Okay. I looked through my photo drive and I have a couple of photos of it on the inside, but not the outside.
So we're going for matching your guys' shade of color as well, correct? In terms of
Yeah, I would color match if you use any green, I would color match that green. If you do any of the faux concrete, I would grab those colors.
Okay.
They're listed in that thread. And then like that one, you've got a darker. If you were to replicate this, I'm not saying that's what you should do, but if you were to, that lower section that's like a darker gray, pick your color. Just make sure it gets shared out to everybody so that if somebody else wants to replicate that and extend onto that, they have that color.
Okay.
I do like the live firing area, especially that sign right there. It says Spartan Training and Qualification Program.
Yeah.
That'd be a very, very neat thing to see.
So are we gonna want to make a what is it, the 247 turret?
I think it'd be a
Uh,
great prop,
Yeah, but
but in terms
probably
of
worry about that after the walls.
right. So as far as the walls go, well, materials as well. How is this handled or wanting to be handled or suggested after your guys' experience with the live fire or live fire booth you guys made Fallen in terms of material acquisition and or cost and stuff like that? Is there a specific way you guys wish you had handled that differently or what?
The main thing that I would do is I mentioned the adding the 2 side panels. That allows you to make fewer stands for it. The stands in our case were made by 2x3s. You could also fit 2x4s. I believe I linked the brackets that we used in the booth build thread.
Correct.
And then there are build plans on that entire first post. I believe it's the first post.
Correct.
Yeah,
There were
all those
some
little.
spaced out here.
So that'll tell you all of those types of things. Most of them are around 2x4 framing. I would highly recommend that your top and bottom horizontals be the full 48-inch width, and then shorten your verticals by that 3 inches that you would have for a 2x4. Because that way, if you're sliding it on the ground for any reason, you're not sliding what is essentially a seam between them.
You're talking about here, this interaction here.
Yeah. Yep. I would have your horizontal span the whole thing rather than your vertical. And then we just did 1 cross brace on the horizontal to keep the weight down. Yeah. Same reason why we did 1/4-inch plywood for the facing.
Okay.
We did look into going the insulation foam route. We chose plywood for durability purposes.
I'm sorry, insulation foam for what?
Southern, what they did is they used XPS foam. So the rigid
netting
board
stuff.
Yeah, the rigid core
Yeah.
foam. Which lets your weight be even less, but it's less likely to hold up long term versus putting a plywood panel.
Right.
Yeah. What's cheaper though, the foam or the plywood?
1/4-inch ply, if you don't get the really good quality stuff, which you're painting it, so you can kind of get away with lower grade. It comes out about a wash depending on where you get it.
Speaking of price and everything, Billy Bob mentioned the forum Thursday that he could probably get a bulk purchasing discount from a wood shop he's affiliated with.
I mean, that would help.
Yeah.
I will say I do have how much? I have $600 or $700 in Home Depot gift cards that I'm willing to put towards this.
Oh dang.
I mean,
Yeah,
I'm also willing to
So-
pitch in.
I
Nope.
know.
I
I'm
guess
not
that's-
saying
yeah.
I'm just saying I do have that I'm
Right.
100% willing to put towards this at no expected cost back. And Home Depot's down the road. But I mean,
The biggest thing I will tell you to do is keep every receipt and track it in a spreadsheet somewhere. That's what we did.
Yep.
right.
Most of us
Yeah.
did.
I'm down to
Okay, that's
put
what I
down
did.
like a few,
The one thing about
like
this
$100. Sorry.
also is he mentioned something about transport. He doesn't have a way of transporting after cuts.
Well, I have an F-150, so
He's down in Cleveland too. Or not Cleveland, sorry, Columbus, sorry.
well, if we do this
I
fast
will.
enough, I'll be down there. Oh no, I'll have too much boot supplies. Really. Well, maybe I'll be down there for Origins around the 20th this month.
Oh right, yeah.
Just a
I'm not sure
thought,
we get
depending on
list
how
that done
expensive the
fast.
smallest U-Haul trailer is, there's always that option. Just
And I will guarantee you, once
shocked.
everything is built, transporting to and from, you're gonna want a trailer or a van.
Right.
Yeah, I was also going to turn like $100-$200 in a $50 gift card I have.
Okay.
I don't think you'll have to spend all of your Home Depot gift card hoard on this. Feel kind of guilty if we took all that from you.
It's there.
Hmm.
I'm really enthusiastic about this.
Where'd you get all those gift cards? That's insane.
I travel for work and they cost 49,000 IHG points and I've had almost up to 2 million points at this point.
Huh.
So, yeah.
A lot of points.
I usually go for Home Depot gift cards. That way I get tools and
I mean, it's
whatnot.
always a safe bet.
Yeah.
Safe bet.
Yeah.
Okay, so walls are the first priority, right? We can, however we choose to go about it, because it's right down the road, and Fido has a truck that we're okay to use. I'm okay with, us getting materials and whatnot. However we choose, if we want the materials before a build day or on the day of, we go and get it. However we choose to do it, we can get it. And we can start the walls first.
I guess make a list of what we're looking for beforehand, so we know what, where, and why.
I think we should get stuff beforehand, like plan to get it beforehand, so while people are there, have the most amount of time to put stuff together.
Exactly.
Right. Well, I'm saying before the actual build date, before
Oh,
we
you
make
mean
a
like
list.
layout? Like we're gonna
Yeah.
need this much for this many walls and whatnot.
Yeah, and then we know what to get
Right.
before we start building. That's kind of what I was getting at.
The question I have is if we're going to make the life firing area wall, we don't need the pillars, but how many walls are we going to make, and are we going to make the entire 40-foot thing, or are we going to try to make it so it can incorporate the room so we only make a limited amount, then we can make the room?
What were your wall sizes again, Fallen? How wide?
Each one was a 4x8 panel.
Okay. So, and we have up to, what is it, 30? 30 feet?
40 by 20.
We
right?
have 40. I would subtract 30 just considering if you build a room in the future. Now, you could build 10 feet of wall. That would be a room. Just consider. Yeah, that 7.5 is the reason why we did 28 feet at Planet.
Yeah.
And as I said, if you had 24 feet, that would allow us to overlap the backdrop and do the backdrop the rest of the way. Whereas if you landed at 20 feet, we are butting right up against it with our 20-foot backdrop. So you don't have to cover the full 40 feet
Oh, of course not.
by Cleveland. And I wouldn't expect you to. I'm saying if you target 24 foot of wall space, that would be perfectly great
So
by
6
Cleveland
4 by
Gaming.
8 walls.
Yeah. Which would give you 6 panels going across. Add an additional 4-foot section that you would cut in half to make your coming out sections for stability. So 7 essentially.
Yep.
You'll have to add more for your framing, considering those are going to be in half. But your panels themselves, you'd have 7 4x8 sheets.
Okay.
And I'm going to drop a link in the chat. I went ahead and made you an expenses spreadsheet that you can track in. So that way, as you get things,
Perfect.
Oh, goody.
Alrighty.
Want me to post this in the build forum?
Sure. So with that, you know, math and whatnot, we can figure out what, how many 2x4s and whatnot we're gonna need for each wall, and then how many stands. Now the columns, you had mentioned that there were 2 different methods used for those columns, right?
yes. Well, there was one method used for the flat columns. And then I don't know exactly how Skid did the corner columns, which you won't need unless you get the room done.
Right.
But I would alter how the flat columns were done.
If
And
I'm remembering
that's-
correctly, Skid made 2 small walls and then butted them up together.
which
to make
is
a
which
90.
is what I made in the 3D model that I
Yeah.
set up. And then I made it 3 frames for the flat side columns. What they did is made 3 U shapes, and then we're relying on the plywood to hold it up, but that doesn't, it sags. And they have to go in and add more framing.
Did you guys do magnets for yours?
They did not.
Okay,
Nope.
because I know we did.
Yeah, there
Those are
was
our magnets.
nothing on those to hold them up. They were just standing.
The idea was to use clamps up at the top. I don't know if we did or not.
At
No, they ran out of time.
No, I
C2,
know
there was
Skid's got some of
nothing,
those
right?
like 110.
Yeah, there
pound
was
pull
there was
force
nothing, and
magnets.
that needs to be fixed by the next time that booth goes out.
I recall.
I would say look into the same thing that we did for Harvest and just get washers and those like strong like 110-pound force magnets.
Yeah, I've already gotten all the info from Skid. I just have to. I don't live in Kansas City to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a problem.
Yeah.
It sounds like you need to visit more often.
Shut up.
You can
for,
deny it.
For those who joined,
Huh.
by the
You
way,
guys
this-
need to move to St. Louis. That's what you need to do.
But it'd be and then this would be kind of pointless to build a booth on this side of the Midwest.
For those unaware who had joined, this is being recorded, by the way, so that it can be shared with others who were not able to attend.
Yep.
All right. So, sorry, I keep looking at this to remind myself of the points here.
It's up on the forum.
Just to fill the empty space. Fallen, we did talk about it at C2. I have the stuff to prototype, with the exception of the plywood, the rotating background like gate slat thing.
Mhm.
So I'm gonna hopefully try to get that started soon, but I need to get the plywood and then get some motors and figure out the entire system for having it rotate from peaceful day to banish invasion.
Yeah, just keep me updated as you figure it out. Another thing to think about, which is only tangentially related to all this, is I'm looking into getting new backdrops for us for smaller activations and things that can potentially be different themes. If you have ideas for things you want me to look for those, send them my way.
Okay.
I will get the wheels turning.
Hoping to do that sooner than later.
But yeah, do you know were the booths put together with construction screws or stapled together?
Which ones? Because
The Harvest. Well, I guess I don't know if you know what Jason did, but like, did you guys use construction screws or staples?
we screwed everything.
Okay.
And then we filled the screw holes.
Is this the booth you were referring to that they?
That's from Southern.
Okay, is this what you were talking about where they just did a plywood sheet? Or is that
No,
something
those
else?
are foam.
Oh, foam.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
foam
that's what I
insulation
meant.
board.
That's what I meant. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and then they used 1x3s or 1x2s is what
Yeah.
they used, which is your lightest weight.
And how did that work out for them?
I mean, it seemed to work for this variation. We're traveling with ours more, which is why
Yeah.
we're trying to go for durability.
Right.
I will say, I know I'm, further south from you guys, but if you decide to want to go with 1x3s, I have access to a ton of 1x3.5s from work. And, anybody in the Midwest is welcome to it. You just need to let me know and then have a way to come get it.
Okay. So I just opening live fire, or the training area and take a look around, see what else we can discuss here.
I think it
just-
was. Oh, go ahead.
I was just thinking, does anybody here have experience getting mixed paints? So we get that concrete color?
You're
Live
actually going to
fire-
buy 2 different colors, is what you're going to do.
Yeah,
I'm
because I need
assuming
that
you
dark
guys
gray
did
and the
same
light gray.
thing we did, just paint on one side, paint on the other, and just kind of rotate back and forth which side you're using.
There should be in the live fire build thread. There should be a video linked,
Yeah.
if not inserted there,
Video.
that shows you how to do it.
There it
Wait,
is.
you guys painted both sides? What?
So
Yeah,
I
what
don't
you
what they
do,
meant-
you split your paint tray down the middle, and you'll pour dark paint on one side,
Oh,
light paint on the other. You fill your brush so that one half, like is in there, and then you crisscross. You just
So that's
cross
what
hatch it.
they did. What Harvest did was we got a paint tray for each color, and then we used one half of the brush, like the full length up in one color and the other half with the other, and we would do brush strokes one way and then the other way. And that's how we did it.
and then we use a painter's tape to do the divides between the panels. So you guys like that dark black. Oh. No, I guess we have to use a brush for that.
I don't think we actually did that. Pretty sure we just went with the gaps that were there and they just kind of worked.
Oh, are you talking about how they did this here?
Don't worry about that. We didn't do any of that either.
Yeah.
We only did up through the cross hatching.
I'm assuming you guys left the gap between the panels to kind
Yeah.
of represent that. Yeah, that's what we did.
Yep.
Yeah, that painter was trying to mimic like a certain style. We just
Right.
said, hey, just cross hatch it. And do not do the texture paint. There is one wall in the longsword one that is texture painted. Don't do it. It makes it just a pain to try and get the paint color right.
Hmm.
Okay.
That whole panel, in my view, needs to be replaced.
You're talking about that guy there.
Yep. There's 2 of them like that, and I don't like them. And nobody in longsword likes them, so I feel confident being able to say that.
How did you guys achieve
Yeah.
this here?
That was barn siding I found at Home Depot. That's
Reminds
just
me of
painted green, and then we stenciled on the emblem.
You guys
Okay.
used a projector for that, right?
Yes.
Yep.
We have to do something like that for the live fire sign.
We do have
Yeah,
a
you've got-
projector.
Excellent. And we probably just rip the asset.
You think that's doable, Wraith?
What's that?
Ripping this sign from the live fire or the weapons drill?
Okay, so here's the problem with that. Eker is mostly used to rip forge stuff, so that and like stuff to apply to coatings for Spartans and things like that.
Okay.
The problem is that ripping from like map instances, so campaign levels, multiplayer levels, and I would argue even this is so much more difficult than it looks. Nobody has even managed to like start cracking it yet.
No,
I can
guess I want
try. I can try, and I can even ask some people from the archive for help with that. But it's a long shot.
Yeah, I might just want to like snip a picture.
that's
See what
exactly.
you're doing right now.
Yeah.
You notice how it's
That-
actually like a sign. It's not painted on the wall itself.
Yeah.
I think it's
I would say probably get a picture of it if you have access to Illustrator. Just do an auto SVG on it, and that should get you a pretty solid trace.
Okay.
And then you should be able to use that to make a negative.
Can you get closer to the wall there so I can see the lower half? Kind of like a cinder block look.
Messy cinder block.
You can
yeah.
you can just get foam brick panels for that and paint those. If you want to mimic that.
Or just put it on top of the panel.
I
Yeah.
would say probably. I mean, I was gonna say
You can
probably
get
set
wood
the
ones, you
plywood
can get
down at the
foam
bottom.
ones.
Use plywood for the upper half, done the way that Longsword and Harvest did it, and then
Mhm.
do like
It'll just be
panels on
faster
top
than
of it.
trying to paint it to look like it.
Yeah, that'd be perfect.
And you can get ones that are also plywood.
There's one you're on.
I know Menards has it.
Yeah.
Like that's pretty close. It's pretty
Yeah.
good.
And guess what? It's Home Depot.
Home Depot, my beloved.
Yes. Yeah, we can make that work. Okay.
I've done an entire backdrop wall with those panels and they work really nicely.
Those exact panels.
Not those ones,
Okay.
but similar ones that I got. I only recently tore apart that wall because I wanted to change the design.
Odd that they had these going upward, but
I wouldn't stress too much about that.
no, certainly not. I know we talked about this door as well. Somebody had brought that up. Was that you
think-
Cacti?
I know there is a door brought up. I think that might have been Rosebud. I don't. One of you had mentioned the like that orange sliding door.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm okay. I'm guilty. That's me. My first thought was how to make the door work. Oops.
They would
Yeah,
have
'cause-
that be the door changing area.
Right. So if we do make a room in the future, that would be a lot of fun to try and implement this doors.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know how in
'Cause I-
detail we need to get with that door hinge frame.
Because I actually had an idea if we had ended up doing that sliding door, kind of make it like how in some houses they have the sliding barn door for like bedrooms and whatnot. Try to do
So-
something like that.
What if we just got it as a screen printed on fabric, like a curtain?
I would talk with Pacific because they are integrating the look of those doors as their focal point in the Pacific build.
So if we
And
do,
I know,
sorry.
I'm gonna look it up. I know that Pip had posted like their plans for their booth, and he had a fair amount set up. Let's see.
I don't know if anybody
China.
has access to a large scale CNC, but you could very easily CNC out the shape on that and then paint it.
I think
Mr.
Billy
Good,
Bob
Caleb.
said he,
About to drop another link for you.
I think Billy Bob said he had
If
something
we were
like
to do
that.
the CNC route, we could ask Mr. Good to borrow the high school's shop bot.
That is a
So-
that is an option.
Because then
What?
you get the depth and you get the look. So
Yeah, we could do that. But we
Those
do
are simple enough you could do with a jigsaw if you don't have a CNC.
yeah, you just
True.
want to do
We
it
don't
in
need
two
fancy
panels.
tools.
Do it in. I would do it personally in 2 panels and then just route the edges where you cut, just
Oh,
so it
well,
gives
yeah,
it
yeah,
that
yeah.
tapered edge.
yeah.
Do we have a
That'd
router?
probably take less time because then we'd have to.
If you need a
sketch it
router, I
out
will
and everything.
send you a router.
a
My
whole router.
I'm pretty sure we can find you guys a singular router to use.
I don't promise I'll send you a
Oh,
good
no.
router, but I can send you a router.
I was thinking of like
Hello.
a table router, but yeah, I guess we could get a handheld one.
So here,
I think
follow
my
ahead.
dad has a router.
I
Ours
have a
too.
handheld one that can also be a table one.
Yeah, that's I just always use table routers, so didn't even occur to me about the handheld ones.
I think my dad has a handheld
Something
one.
that size, I typically would go to handheld.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's just me.
I would say a large scale CNC is going to be your like most accurate bet, but obviously not the easiest. So
Yeah.
So is this what they're planning with? Is there room going to be in here, or is that just?
I don't know if
initially?
they're doing a room
Okay.
or if they're just doing a wall.
Okay. So, I'm showing now. Should be. Oh wait, no, it's not. Oops. Sorry.
still infinite.
Oops.
Billy Bob's saying in chat he has a 8-foot by 12-foot CNC.
I mean, that would definitely work.
That would be
That's
great
like
help.
actually, yeah, the right
Yeah.
size.
So this
Honestly,
door
if
really
it's easy enough for you guys, I'd go that route.
Okay, so this is also covering your guys' live fire. This is your live
Yes.
fire build.
Oh, this has
Okay.
just become everybody who's doing live fire is in this
Yep.
thread.
Oh, okay.
So if you have
Truly
not joined that, I
better
would
for
highly
that.
recommend it.
I already.
It's
have
a wealth
it.
of information.
Cool. Noted. Okay, and there's some STLs. Awesome. Okay. Well, we will use this as a resource. But is this why you brought this up? Because of their door concept?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would talk to them and see what they're thinking as well. Now, all of the stuff that you see, like mounted on the walls, all of that is furnishing that if we don't get to it, it's not the end of the world. We can always add details later.
Right.
What we can't do is build all the details and be missing the base.
Right.
Right.
And I did take screenshots of some of that around the map if we
Yep.
chose to try and implement that.
And if your walls look empty, you can always go the route we did at C2 and put up propaganda posters.
Which
I was
I
gonna
Go
say I
back
could
a
get one of
few.
mine.
Go back to where you have the big screen. So I think it was that. So we were
that
talking
your
about the
idea?
TV earlier. Well, we were talking about that having a TV earlier. This has come up a few times of doing that, but having all of those recent graduates be all of our deployed members.
That would be awesome. And I've had this
And by
same
doing it on
thought.
a screen, we can just update it when somebody new deploys. We don't have to like repaint something or somebody gets left out.
That is a part of
That'd
why
be
I took
sick.
this screenshot, was because I wanted to. That was also an idea I had. So
Thinking about it,
Yeah.
if we actually went that screen route, like we had discussed the like banished invasion, like making our booth like more alive thing, we could also cycle that to be like, invasion in progress, whatever.
Billy Bob, my brother is a mechanical engineer that does CNC stuff, so I can talk to him tomorrow, see if he'd be able to do something like that. I'm not sure what exactly output the program means, but he would, and he might be able to help.
I believe for the cases, we had just figured out that Pelican cases was the best route to go, right?
they
Yeah,
are pretty
Pelican-
good, though.
Pelican and Pelican style cases. There's lots of knockoff brands.
Vever is pretty good, and they're cheaper.
So you can always check military surplus auction.
I would love to get a white one that's cooler for storing our water bottles.
That'd be nice.
Down the road, the sandbags will be easy to do.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
do
reminds me, I
remember
need to-
you need
Has to be
some that
street
are actually filled with sand. Because you do need to weight the back.
Do you,
I talked
the
to
panels? Or
Ernie about it, and
talk
they said they used half sand and
Those-
rubber mulch.
Those ones that he zoomed in on here are half sand, half rubber mulch. I'm talking about on the back of the wall where you have the
Okay.
stands. You want weight on that.
Okay.
Now you can lessen the amount of weight you need by having additional walls that come out at a 90-degree angle. And
Yep.
similarly by attaching it to a room,
Hmm.
which was the original plan at C2. We didn't end up attaching them, but we did. That's part of the reason why we had that counter wall.
And that's why the harvest booth, or the harvest section of the booth, wasn't weighed down, because it was it's a room.
And what did you guys use
It,
for
it
weight?
holds itself up.
Yes.
Sandbags filled with sand.
Oh yeah, just sand.
I hate sand.
The biggest thing is
Just
you don't want to have
everywhere.
any risk that it's going to tip over.
Yeah.
That would be bad.
did they do a bag inside of the bag just in case? Because that is my
That would
thought.
be a question for them.
No, nope,
They
that's not
do
bad.
dump sand on the ground. I will tell you that. So
Yeah,
I
I
have
remember.
doubts.
Yes.
So double
You
bagging
can
is not
see
a bad
sand
idea.
in that photo on the ground.
Yeah, yeah. I would certainly double bag, like a contractor bag on the inside. You know what I'm saying?
A recommendation I have seen is to put them in from photography equipment and photographers is to pour your sand into a Ziploc bag and then stuff those inside the sandbag.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Others have actually recommended taking like 2-liter soda bottles. Soda? Yeah,
Soda.
we can say that.
Well, that's you know,
Soda.
Apparently, I moved up north.
from the soda.
Soda bottles, and they fill up the soda bottle and then put that inside. Now, that would not give you the bag aesthetic that you want for something on display.
That would work for the walls, though.
It can.
Also, Fallen, we say pop. Thank you.
We say soda.
SODA soda.
I say we, but in Wisconsin, we're normal. We say soda.
Just avoid
You guys
the
also
argument
call it a
entirely.
bubbler.
Call it what?
No, that's a UP
Or
thing.
what it
Don't
is.
put that on us. That's a Michigan thing. I don't want to hear that.
It was my
Wait,
friend
hold
from
on,
Milwaukee
what?
that was always saying bubbler.
Specifically
What the fuck's a
UP.
bubbler?
A water fountain.
Calling a water fountain a bubbler.
How
That
did
is a thing from the UP.
Those
and
targets, the files for
Northeastern.
those are in that thread.
I had seen the PDOs? How do you open a PDO? What is that? Pepakura?
Pepakura Designer
go.
will be your place for that. Marine Sniper actually laser cut them for us, so he should have those files and be able to do them for you if you ask.
And how did those work out? Were they
They're good.
pretty
I mean,
they don't fall over willy-nilly, or
so he
Just
did them
laser
out
cut
of
'em
Harbor
foam,
Freight
right?
foam. It's 10 millimeter. It's Harbor Freight foam, so 10 millimeter ish.
Yeah, give or take.
Yeah. And I mean, they hold up. They stand up just fine. There were a few that we got being the first pass of them
Mhm.
where they were cut all the way through. But I believe he's dialed it in closer now. And all I did is put some gaff tape on the back. And no big deal.
Okay.
But you just kind of toss them wherever. They're just set dressing.
Cool.
I would love to eventually make them like laser cut out of acrylic so that they are truly rigid. It's just not a priority. And foam ones are kind of fun because you can throw them at people and don't hurt them.
I do have a laser cutter at work. I do have access to that has about a 12 by 12 inch cut area. So
Those were set to 15, but I don't see why you couldn't scale them down.
okay. If I ask him to, if I can get what is the file format? DXF, I
Yeah.
think. It's the file. I don't remember. But that
Yeah,
wouldn't be
we can
hard
do
to mock up anyway.
It was easy.
Okay. Walls, then we can worry about the props, the dressing. Fallen, I had asked about the weapon racks on that note of dressing. Are those a file that is distributed, or?
Yes, so that particular rack is the turtle rack that Asgardian put out from Outpost Discovery. I did make some adjustments to it just in the past year. But Cacti, I believe you have those files, don't you? You've talked about making one of those.
Yes, I have those files somewhere on my computer. I'd have to dig for them.
Okay.
And I know Frosty has that particular one right now. I dropped it off with him yesterday. Not the pegboard, the turtle rack. So that will be transferred off to Wayward. You'll get it after Origins. So you will have that one already.
Wow.
The pegboard did not go.
I already do have Bentons in my basement right now.
Cool. So you have multiple. And the turtle rack that we have currently is set up for double rifle rests. So you don't have the two shelves.
Right.
We never use the shelves. And all it was cutting a second of the base and a second set of the actual like ridge sections for the rifles. I did have to make some adjustments to that back panel to make some of the slits bigger, but that's why they're staggered.
Yep.
Is because there was no point in making a second middle back section.
Okay. Well, we
But
have
you could
some.
honestly just trace the ones that we have.
Yeah, I didn't know we had some.
Yes, that was made out of MDF, which is heavier, I will say, but I do like it better because it doesn't bow. That was a problem with our original one, is it like to bow.
Okay.
Swede has that one nowadays.
Are your walls
Yep.
connected in any way?
Yes, on the back there is a hole drilled through on each panel, and they're connected with wing nuts and just driven nuts.
Through bolts?
Yeah. There's about
It was half inch
four
MDF.
bolts. 4 bolts between the panels.
I
One
don't
on
know if I
top,
have any photos
mid.
of them. I might have some photos of them driving them in. That would be before we did them. Because we had them standing up when we did that.
Okay. Oh, they're on the inside. Yeah. Got it.
Yeah.
Through the framing. Behind. Got it. Okay.
I might have a photo somewhere of like Ernie putting them through for the first time or something.
Mm-hmm.
And the files that you won't need them, so you can ignore this if you want to, but those barriers, the files that I upload for the build plans are the updated ones that would use 1/2 inch instead of 1/4 inch plywood for the face.
Okay.
I have not tried them at the 1/2 inch, but that was just updating my numbers on my parameters. Doesn't make it as pretty as it was when I was using 1/4.
Okay.
I would recommend just make one of the sides and then trace it.
With going the live fire or the weapons.
Yeah, if you're going
The
with this,
range.
you shouldn't have it in the first place, so it's no
No.
big deal.
I'd say having the weapon rack, that one, would be interesting. Because I think having the light aspect of it, helps draw attention to whatever's on the rack itself. So that'd be a good for, a good display, potentially.
Yeah, that'd be good down the road.
Yeah.
Certainly,
so
that'd
that's
be a build of its
in
own.
depth logic
Again,
right there.
Marine Sniper
Yeah.
had started a conversation around that. He started prototyping something around it. I just don't
I
know where
remember
it
I
ended.
had brought that up during C2, and I have some very base ideas, but I haven't started prototyping anything for it yet.
Yeah, I think last I had checked, he had a cardboard prototype of actually it, rising up and everything. But I think that's where it ended.
Bandit obtained.
Take down your targets quickly.
If you went back to the planet images that we had, there was the pegboard rack. If you want the build plans for that, because that won't be making it to Ohio by Cleveland, it's a quick build, and I mean really quick. I can send over the plans for that, no problem.
Sure, I'd take them anyway.
It's all based around 2 pegboards that you can buy in 2 foot by 4 foot sections. You do have to cut them down slightly vertically, but that's it.
I have a big sheet of spare plywood, pegboard, that's sitting in Fido's garage that I'd consider using for that.
Oh,
Yeah, I think
speaking
we
of,
built that in like half a day. Needs to be
I've
painted.
got some particle board that I can part ways with.
Yeah, I mentioned the form items
Good
on the
deal.
board too, and BF also. Or I think it was.
I mean, by all means, any materials that we can, by all means, yeah.
Yeah, lots of stuff's just been sitting in my garage since I got the house. And some of it was the MDF board I was gonna make a printer 3D printer enclosure for. I ended up not really needing it for my pet G prints.
So as far as let me double check here. And the files are out there for. Oh wait, we're not going to need. I don't know. Do you guys foresee the need of wanting these barriers, the dressings up at the top for our
I
walls?
mean, it's not on the
You're
live
doing
fire
an
thing, so
internal room.
yeah.
I think you could forgo them for now. And honestly, nobody's managed to actually finish them in the first place.
Oh really?
That one is the only one that's been made, to my knowledge.
Oh
Yeah,
wow.
that one panel is the only one that has it yet.
Because did
My
you guys use
immersion.
dowels or PVC for that? I forget.
We tried a few different things. The original was PVC. We also tried dowels at one point. The problem was the holes, the tolerances were too tight.
Yep.
So we ended up spending a bunch of time having to re-drill the holes larger. And then the actual, if you use dowels, oftentimes you'll find dowels in 4-foot sections, not like 8-foot sections. But we need that to span about 7.5 feet for each one. Frosty also had a good idea. If some people would be willing to make some like quick and dirty PVC armor stands and just paint the PVC black. So you can see we had Mate's mannequin, and then we had my mannequin over on the other side. For that one, we had Skid's mannequin at C2.
Yeah, that's something I could do.
You could set up, because that would help fill that space if you could have a handful of armor stands set up, and they don't have to be, these elaborate
Intricate.
builds. They can be
Right.
basic PVC. I would paint it black just because it looks nicer if the PVC is black, and then weight them at the bottom so they don't fall over.
Do we have a build thread for the mannequins?
We do not, but I know you can search Google for PVC armor stand.
Hmm.
There's a lot of different ways to build them.
Yeah, I made one, but I know SSG Gang had a better one in Planet one year that I liked.
Yep, they did one as well. You could ask them for what they did. That was a store-bought mannequin, if I recall.
I
That one's
have a mannequin, but he has a peg going through the back of his calf, so he can't really put anything on that leg.
Pretty sure that's the same kind Skid has. I know the peg comes out of his.
Yeah, Mates, if I recall, the peg comes up through like the foot somewhere or something. Mine, if you want to take that one on, go enjoy. I can send you the link to the file. It's a lot of printing, but it is fully posable. I would also say you don't have to make them posable at all. They don't have to hold a weapon. Like, none of that matters. Not gonna say don't. I'm saying it doesn't have to. You can do whatever you want.
I'll just throw my Mark 7 on it and just put weapons on it, call it a day.
I mean, pretty much the goal would be suits that people want to bring, but don't plan on wearing. We do have those cameras modeled.
Okay.
The keypad has been modeled.
Thinking if we did tackle the door walls, Well, no, you'd still want about a 2-foot section. Wondering the support.
And
the
what
side
you
support.
could do is you could make the door wall, make that your center point, like your focal point, and then do some additional walls that aren't fully finished, and use that as part of your room down the road.
You're
I'm
talking
just
similar
thinking
to
out loud at this point. Similar to that, and then it would become the doorway into your room later. It's all up to you.
Yeah.
But that would give you something that would draw attention versus the standard concrete wall.
You didn't have to cut the 4x8 walls, did you? Or they just sell those already in the right size at Home Depot?
Plywood usually comes in 4x8, so
Yeah.
Everything was modeled around using just standard 4x8 sheets that you would pick up at any hardware store.
So you guys didn't have to do a lot of cutting then? Not too much?
Most of the cutting we had to do was
Just
linear
2x4s.
cuts on 2x4s.
Right. Okay.
And then if there was anything with a particular design, such as that, which, yeah, track saw.
And then for Harvest, I know Skid did have to obviously frame out a door, so
Yeah, he had extra work.
obviously, you don't need to go for like, building code levels of accuracy. You don't need like header plates and stuff, but
Right.
it's not too horribly difficult to do.
Okay. So, Cacti and
Yo.
gang here.
Yes.
What we have until September 9th? No,
19th.
19th.
I think it was.
Yes, 19th through the 21st. What are we thinking for dates available to craft? Not all of it has to be tackled here, of course. We are in Sandusky, Ohio. But
If I were
what are
you,
your
I would
guys' thoughts?
target having it done by September 5th at the latest. That way, if you do need final touch-ups, you'd have 2 weeks to do it.
Yeah, I don't want to leave this last minute.
Of course.
Hey, the con crunch is real.
Punchiest.
I was gonna make a couple bandits and a mutilator, but I can forego those and start on the turret. And I want to figure out how to do the stand, the tripod for it.
That was a weak point for the one that they just took out to HCS, right? Didn't that one just break?
Yes.
I do believe
Uh.
Tahu is fixing that to make it stronger.
Yeah.
I thought about trying
Wish I
like
knew where
some
it is.
PVC legs.
Would you make the turret out of foam?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think who's the guy in Papa Bear? I think he just made a Tilka out of foam.
He did. It's extremely light.
That's Atoka is the M247.
M249, mate.
Yeah, because that's the same. Isn't it the same
It's
one as
pretty
in
much
Infinite?
the same model, yeah.
Okay.
There are very, very slight differences.
Not enough, really.
No.
It's close enough. Okay. I can ask.
Yeah.
I'll shoot him a message either on Discord or Instagram to kind of pick his brain.
I can't remember if he did a build thread or not. I know there are some 3D printed parts and he did use PVC as part of it, but it's majoritively foam.
So do we want to shoot for a build day in June or early July? get everything started. And
Right. I'm trying to remember my work schedule here.
yeah,
I know I got things going on in July.
I got Origins the 20th this month. The beginning of
So
August I have Gen Con, and the end of August I have Dragon Con.
Ooh, I didn't
Do
even
we
consider
want-
conventions.
Although I know most of us won't be going to Gen Con and Dragon Con, so it's not too big of a deal if I miss one if you guys need to schedule those weeks.
The work travel I had planned for June moved. The work travel I had planned for July is moving. That's going to be an undisclosed time, so I was scheduled to be out in Hershey, Pennsylvania from July 6th to the 11th, but that's changing. It might be now later July. So roughly
I've
2 or
got
3 weeks out from July 6th.
I've got something going on July 19th.
I just want to say you can do some things like individually
Yeah.
for those who have spaces and then bring them together. We did the wall jacks all separately and then brought them together.
The stands.
Yes, the stands.
Okay. So we can Wayward, I know you've got the space for building. Is that something you'd want to tackle? Because we have roughly 7 walls we want to make.
Mm-hmm.
4x8 walls. I can certainly tackle some here. Lady Red and I can. With Fido here and there. We can whip some walls up here. And if you want to do stands, how many of those would you say is actually supported with stands, Wayward? Or, sorry, Fallen? For something like C2, or even the planet with the sidewalls.
Yeah, so with the sidewalls, you could do 1 stand for every 2 panels. If you don't do those sidewalls, I would be extra cautious and do a stand per wall.
Yeah. Yeah, I could probably build those wall stands. I'd have to look at the thing, and if I have any questions, I just ask Fallen about it.
Okay.
So I need to build 6. I'm kidding.
Yeah, that'd be a good number.
Yeah.
Are we wanting the turret full size?
I'd say figure out what they used at the planet. Or, no, sorry, not planet. That HCS event they went to.
I
And
think it
figure
was
that
full
out.
size.
Was it?
It certainly
That
felt.
is full
It
size.
certainly felt full size.
So when I asked Tahu what scale it was made at, he said, and I quote, KSG scale. So it's scaled roughly for a 6'1", 6'2" person.
Hmm.
With all the photos I've seen with that turret, with some that looked nearly unwieldy. But they made it work. Ultimately, Cacti, because you've made so many weapon props, I'd say use your best judgment.
Okay. Well, I asked
It is
because I don't
very
inherently
heavy.
know. I mean, it will definitely be lighter than a printed.
Mm-hmm. In my eyes, I'd say slightly smaller than 2 scale.
So
My eyes.
I would say scale for somebody between 5'10" and 6 foot. That's what your average American male is going to be. I added.
I'll
So
do
did
the Munker
anybody
way.
hear? Did
And
anybody
do
hear
85%.
Anybody here actually hold a Tilka at C2E2?
I did not.
I do not.
Okay. Do you remember roughly how big the one that was there this year is?
Sorry about that. Could you repeat that question, please? I'm sorry.
Do you remember? Did you see the one from this year?
I did not. No.
I know there's pictures of it in the drive somewhere. Yeah, like there's Rosebud with it.
Did you or 052 make that one?
052 made it. It is the Oddworks one at 100% scale. That
do
being
have a-
said,
Okay, so
the
what
one at
I'm-
Tilka, the one that I own, is back at the Harvest Armory, and that one is
Oh.
scaled exceptionally well. So I can
Okay.
get a size for you of it in about 2 weeks when we have another build day.
I know there's a Tilka files in or on the forums,
Oh, those are
but it's all broken up in sections.
Let me see if the file pack that Tahu made has a full scale one, and if it does, I'll ask him if you're cool with using it for an unfolder for reference or whatever.
I think with something that size, building it in sections might be. It might help hold together a little bit better than what I normally do in the layering method. That way I can get cleaner lines and whatnot.
Okay, so there is not a full put together one in this file pack. I would reach out to Tahu and see if he can tell you how long it is fully assembled, because he should still have the Fusion 360 drawings and everything. So
Okay. I'll probably do it 85%. Like, just so it's big, but not too big.
yeah. Let me see if Oddworks put the size of his on the page for the download. Oh, hey, he's almost done with that. Cool. Unrelated, but it looks like the brute shot's almost done, so we might have more of those popping up soon.
I can't wait.
Sweet.
Did Lady Red finish hers?
Oh yeah.
Yes. She brought it with C2, didn't she?
Oh yeah. She walked
It's a
around with
big
it for
boy.
the parade. She was so worried
We
it
had
was gonna
some
break.
very large weapons at C2.
I need someone to print me a stanchion bipod.
I mean, I've got mine printed, but they're full scale.
I don't see. Unless I passed it.
I could print off a pair at your scale.
I mean, that would be appreciated. Because they're roughly the same, I
Just had it.
believe.
Yeah. What scale is yours?
85%.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
I kind of have it jerry-rigged together right now. Where it kind of sort of holds.
Of course. Yeah, I can't find a scale size for the length of the chain gun like anywhere. Yeah, so I'd say reach out to Tahu, Skid, or 052, because all of them have access to, or KG for that matter, because all of them have access to relatively decent sized scale ones.
Apologies, Billy Bob. I just noticed your messages. So the wall, you're saying the walls you can cut out super fast. Fallen, you had said those sheets, those 4x8 sheets you could buy as is, right? from
Yeah,
Sarco?
it's just a standard plywood size.
Okay. So
Hi. Sorry.
you're fine. I don't think we need to get those cut. We could just purchase those, which honestly I could run to Home Depot and get those purchased, pick them up with Fido's truck right down the road.
I want to say they're like $16 a pop, so it shouldn't be too horribly expensive.
Okay.
Because how many panels were you guys planning to do?
7 at the moment.
So yeah, that would only be like what, around 100, $120.
Not too bad.
Not at all.
That's
What do you
good
think you're gonna
news.
know when your work will be calling you in to do your trip in July?
So they'll likely call me out July. Oh, I just had it up. Here we go. Roughly 2 weeks it's being pushed back, and that's still a floating date. But oh, I have to move my hotel. So right now the 20th is when I would leave. So thinking about it now, I have the Friday and Thursday off. The Thursday we have a concert of the 17th of July. But I took Friday off anyways as just to take off. We could do that Saturday, the 19th. Is that a doable date for a build?
July?
I will. I have a concert that day as well,
Oh, dang.
on the 19th.
Who are you seeing? If I may
I am
ask.
going to see Kesha.
Oh, nice.
Why do I feel like you guys are going to see Ghost?
Huh, because we're going to see Ghost.
I'm going to see Kesha.
What about the 6th?
The
July?
6th, I travel. Oh, wait, no, I don't.
Oh,
No, I
yeah.
don't. That's the one that's moving. Okay.
I was gonna say I thought I moved.
Yeah.
That's Sunday?
As far. Let me double check one more moving thing here. I know Lady Red has family coming in at some point in July that I just need to figure that out. Where was that?
Excuse me.
How dare you?
But as of now, I'm okay with planning for the 6th. And
I will
nothing
think
this
that
month
in my
because you guys have
costume.
You'll be here in 2 weeks for Origins.
Yeah, but then there's a week between that and the 6th, so
Right.
I get those wall stands built then.
No, I didn't mean coming down then. I was just noting.
Okay. The M247 is 64.6 inches in length.
It doesn't have to be the 6th, but that weekend.
Right.
Either Saturday or Sunday. If that works for everybody else.
What do you guys prefer, a Saturday or a Sunday? Because if need be, if anybody needed to stay too, that's a potential. But
I cannot do that weekend as my family already has 4th of July plans.
Okay.
Oh, that's right. It is 4th of July weekend.
We could have a party.
So we could do that Sunday then, if that's still an option, because that's 2 days after the 4th. If you do 4th festivities.
I typically do not, so it works for me.
Ours are all weekends, so that Yeah, don't plan it around me. That's perfectly fine, but I cannot do anything that weekend.
Yeah, because if we're doing the walls, we won't need things cut just yet. It's more the door that. Yeah.
So we can.
And I can always have stuff pre-cut if someone wants to swing through, pick it up, and take it to you guys.
That has me wondering.
Because, like, realistically, I have an entire industrial building that if I ask for a little tiny corner of to store stuff, they probably won't say no.
The 10th through the 14th, so the weekend of 12 and 13. That's when Cheyenne has family visiting, so I'll be out then. But so far, this first weekend of July, is that what we're thinking then?
Mm,
Yeah, that works for me.
That'll work for me.
yeah. That'd probably work for. Nate was expressing interest in coming too, so being Canadian, I doubt he'll have anything going on.
And would you
They don't get freedom.
guys prefer Saturday or a Sunday?
I'd say Sunday, just because people will probably be more free that day.
Okay. Okay, then I will put that on the forum as the first official day. I can work on gathering those materials and figure out how much 2x4, what links are available where we're at, and how many we'll need. And I can work on gathering some of that, and we can go from there.